What if the one person who brought your child back to life was someone the world had already thrown away? It started on an ordinary Tuesday. Ethan, just 6 years old and bound to his wheelchair, was sitting quietly by the garden window, like he did every afternoon. His father, Michael Bennett, a powerful, emotionally distant billionaire, was upstairs, too busy signing contracts to notice the storm that was about to shake his perfect world. Then out of nowhere, she appeared. A little girl with tangled blonde hair, no shoes, and the boldness of someone who had nothing left to lose. She walked straight into their lives, no invitation, no explanation, and within days she did what an army of doctors, therapists, and money never could. She made Ethan laugh again. But when Michael caught her in the garden, he didn't see hope. He saw danger, and he kicked her out. What he didn't know then was that tiny act of rejection would unravel everything. Because the girl had a secret one that would shatter his beliefs, expose his blind spots, and force him to ask the question no billionaire ever wants to face. What if love doesn't come with a price tag, but with a second chance? Ready to find out what happened next? Keep watching. The truth will leave you breathless. Ethan Bennett sat quietly in his wheelchair, tucked under a soft blanket. Even though the Seattle air wasn't cold, the garden was his sanctuary, a small patch of sunlight and roses where life moved slowly enough for him to keep up. He was 6 with eyes too thoughtful for his age. Most days were the same: physiotherapy, doctor visits, routines, silence. His father, Michael Bennett, a real estate mogul with more properties than he could count, made sure nothing unexpected ever reached Ethan. But something had changed. She came barefoot, a girl no older than Ethan with tangled blonde hair, dirt on her cheeks, and no fear in her eyes. She slipped through a gap in the garden fence like she belonged there. She didn't speak at first. She just watched him with a strange, quiet intensity, as if the wheelchair, the crutches, the medical monitors didn't exist. As if he was just a boy. "Do you live here?" she asked one day while Ethan drew in a notebook. Startled, he looked up and nodded. Children rarely came close, and never like this. "Want to play?" He blinked. No one had ever asked him that without pity in their voice. But she wasn't like anyone he knew. She didn't flinch when he moved awkwardly or avoid eye contact when he struggled with words. She didn't stare at his legs. She saw him, and so she came back again and again. Her name, she said, days later, was Lily. She brought stories about sleeping under bridges, about chasing alley cats, about a mother who vanished and never came back. She handed him shiny pebbles from the street, declaring them magic stones. Once she placed one in his hand and whispered, "This one will help you stand." He laughed. "I can't walk." "I didn't say it'd be easy." She shrugged. Inside the towering glass building downtown, Michael Bennett signed contracts with the flick of a pen. His empire of malls, towers, and gated estates grew each quarter. But none of it mattered. Not since his wife's death. His world had collapsed into a single priority. Ethan. That meant structure, control, and complete avoidance of chaos, especially the kind that came barefoot and uninvited. One afternoon, Michael returned early from a video call and paused at the window. He nearly dropped his phone. Ethan was laughing, not smiling, laughing. Head thrown back, eyes gleaming, a sound so foreign it pierced the silence like sunlight through storm clouds. And next to him, a girl was pushing his wheelchair through the trees, both of them squealing with joy. Michael bolted down the stairs and stormed into the garden. "Who are you?" he snapped. Lily froze, letting go of the chair. She took a step back but didn't run. Ethan tried to explain, but his father was already moving. He grabbed Lily by the arm, not roughly but firmly, and turned her toward the gate. "You don't belong here." "Go." Lily stared at him, defiant but shaking. "I just wanted to play." And then she ran through the fence into the street and out of sight. Ethan didn't speak for 3 days. The house, already too quiet, became unbearable. Michael noticed instantly his son no longer answered. Questions looked out windows or asked for the garden. The sparkle was gone. The light had dimmed. Michael tried everything. He bought Ethan an expensive model train, ordered his favorite meals, even hired a private clown. Nothing worked. Finally, one afternoon, as they sat alone in the playroom, Michael asked gently, "Ethan, can you tell me what's wrong?" Silence. "It's about that girl, isn't it?" Still nothing. "Did she do something to you?" Ethan looked up slowly, and Michael saw something rare in his son's eyes, not sadness. Anger. "She didn't feel sorry for me," he said, his voice small but sharp. "She made me laugh. She made me forget the chair." Michael froze that night as Ethan slept. Michael sat alone in his study, lights off, phone ignored. He remembered the girl's eyes, her bare feet, that laugh. And for the first time in years, he felt something real, a pang of regret. The next morning, Michael canceled meetings and marched straight to building security. "I need footage from the garden." Every day this past week, no one questioned him. Hours later, he sat watching security footage of Lily slipping through the fence, playing with Ethan, pushing the chair, laughing. Then the clip of himself storming in, separating them. He winced. He looked like a stranger in his own skin. "Go to the next day," he ordered. And there she was, Lily digging through trash behind a nearby diner, eating from a torn pizza box, alone, unseen. Something inside Michael cracked. He drove the streets for over an hour until he found her. She was walking out from behind a dumpster, dragging a broken plastic bag. When she saw him, she froze. "Wait," he called. "I'm not here to yell, I want to talk." She didn't move. "Ethan misses you." She looked away. "I don't have a home." Michael's voice broke. "Maybe now you do." He held out his hand and waited. She looked at him, really looked, as if trying to decide whether this man was real. Then slowly she took his hand. "Sorry to interrupt, but we will stop here for a bit." Would you have done what Michael did, track Lily down in the streets and ask for forgiveness? Do you think a child's laughter is more powerful than any medicine? And hey, where are you watching this story from? If this touched your heart even a little, give us a like and tap that heart to support this story. The car ride back to the estate was silent. Lily sat in the back seat, staring out the window, clutching her worn plastic bag like it held her entire life. Michael Bennett gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles pale. Words swirled in his head, apologies, explanations, promises. But none of them felt like enough. How do you speak to a child who's learned not to expect anything from anyone? As they pulled into the gated community, the security guard blinked twice, stunned. Michael rolled down the window. "She's with me," he said firmly. "She's a guest." Lily said nothing. Inside, Ethan was at his window again, sketching quietly, a part of him already resigned to disappointment. But when the front door opened and he heard footsteps, small, fast, hesitant, he turned Lily. She smiled shyly from the doorway. Ethan nearly fell from his chair. He wheeled himself forward as fast as his arms could go and launched into a clumsy hug. They clung to each other like kids lost in a storm who just found their way home. Michael stood back, watching. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. That night, Lily took her first hot shower in what might have been months. Michael had one of the housekeepers find her fresh clothes from the donation closet. She ate quietly at the dinner table, overwhelmed by the silverware and white tablecloth, but more by the kindness. Ethan, bursting with energy, told her everything: the new physical therapist, he didn't like the soup, he still hated the train set that didn't work right. "And the garden hasn't been the same without you," he said softly. Later that evening, Michael approached her in the living room. She was curled up on the edge of the couch, too scared to relax. "I don't know how long you want to stay," he began, "but if you're willing, this house can be yours too." She looked at him from under a blanket, eyes wary. "I don't need a house, I just don't want Ethan to be alone." Michael nodded, throat tight. "That's more than enough." Days passed then. Weeks. Slowly, Lily began to blossom. She didn't flinch every time someone raised their voice. She stopped hiding food and napkins. She laughed more, especially during Ethan's therapy sessions, where her encouragement did more than any exercise plan ever could. One morning, she even cheered him on as he stood just one shaky step. But it was his that same night as Michael passed her room to check in. He saw her pulling crumpled paper from her old bag, drawings, old letters, scraps of memories. "What's all that?" he asked gently. Lily jumped, then relaxed. "Just stuff I used to write letters. Not to anyone. Just in case someone ever wanted to know who I was." She handed him one. He unfolded it carefully. It was messy, written in pencil, misspelled. It read, "Dear man in the suit, please don't yell. I just wanted to help Ethan. He's kind. I don't care if he can't walk. He makes me laugh. I don't want him to be alone. Sorry if I scared you." Lily. Michael blinked hard, swallowing a lump in his throat. He asked, "Would you like to keep them in a safe place?" Lily shook her head. No, I want you to have them, because now they're part of your story too. Something shifted in Michael's chest. Guilt, yes, but also something deeper. Something like love. But just as peace began to settle into the Bennett home, a phone call shattered everything. It came from family court. A woman claiming to be Lily's aunt had come forward, someone from out of state. She had legal documents, she wanted custody. The words felt like ice water down Michael's spine. That night at dinner, he sat stiffly, unsure how to tell her. When Lily asked why he was quiet, he finally said, "Tomorrow we have to go see a judge. Someone thinks they're your family." Lily's fork froze halfway to her mouth. She stared. "Who? We don't know much yet." "I don't want to go." "I don't want you to either," he whispered. "But we'll go together. No matter what, I won't let you face this alone." She nodded slowly, but her silence that night was deeper than ever. Ethan wouldn't sleep. "What if she leaves again?" he whispered to Lily. "Will you come back?" "I won't leave," she whispered back. "Not without a fight." The next morning, Michael dressed in a suit, but this time it felt like armor. Lily walked into the kitchen in her school uniform. She didn't meet his eyes. He knelt beside her. "Are you ready?" "No," she said. "But I'll go outside." Ethan gave her a hug so tight it nearly crushed her. "Promise me you'll come home." She looked at Michael, then back at Ethan. "I'll try. I'm sorry to pause here, but we will stop here for a bit. If someone tried to take away the person who gave your child their smile back, what would you do? Do you think love should always win over legal bloodlines? And by the way, where are you watching from today? If you're feeling this story in your heart, please give it a like and tap that heart. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. The courtroom felt cold, not in temperature, but in presence. It wasn't made for children like Lily. It was made for battles, paper ones, sharp ones, where hearts weren't allowed to speak louder than signatures. Lily sat between Michael and a social worker. Her hands clenched the sleeves of her hoodie. Across the room sat the woman claiming to be her aunt, a stranger with tired eyes and a folder of papers. She wore a borrowed blouse and looked just as scared as Lily. The judge entered, gray-haired, composed, and unreadable. They all stood, then began the questions. The woman said her name was Lorraine. She worked part-time at a diner and had 2 teenage sons. She'd only recently learned of Lily's existence after a distant cousin mentioned a little girl seen on the news abandoned. Now living with a millionaire. "I don't want her for the money," she said plainly. "I want her because she's blood. Because no child should grow up with strangers when there's family left." Michael's chest tightened. When it was his turn, he stood. He didn't talk about the size of his home, or the security or the private school he could offer. Instead, he spoke about laughter, Your Honor. He said slowly, voice tight, "My son Ethan hadn't laughed in over a year, not since his mother died. And then one day, this little girl showed up barefoot, bold, and without asking for anything, gave him joy. She didn't see a wheelchair. She didn't see a diagnosis. She saw him, and I saw her." He held up the crumpled letter Lily had once written and with trembling hands passed it to the judge. "I didn't save her," he added. "She saved us." There was a silence so deep even the ceiling fans dared not hum. Then the judge turned to Lily. "And what do you want, young lady?" Lily's eyes darted around the room, to Lorraine, who looked kind but foreign, to Michael, who was fighting tears, and then to Ethan, who sat with a drawing in his lap, a picture of the 3 of them beneath a tree. She stood up, small but steady. "I want to stay with Mr. Bennett, with Ethan. They're not my blood, but they're my heart." The judge leaned back, folding her hands. No one breathed. "I'll need a few days," she finally said. "This is a complex case." Back at home, the wait began. Every ring of the phone felt like a gunshot. Every passing day stretched like taffy, slow and sticky. Then one morning, Michael's phone buzzed. He answered, heart racing. "Yep, this is Michael Bennett." It was the court. The judge had made her ruling. Lily would stay. Michael sank into his chair. Eyes closed, relief crashed over him like a wave. She was his, not just in the heart, but in the eyes of the law. He raced to pick up the kids, early from school. When Lily and Ethan burst through the front door, he knelt before them, arms wide. She said, "Yes," he whispered. Lily blinked. "Really?" He nodded. "You're ours." "Officially," Ethan squealed and threw his arms around her. Lily, stunned for a moment, then hugged Michael for the first time, tight, trembling, and without words. That night, they framed Lily's old drawing and hung it in the center of the living room. Underneath the tree, the stick figure family held hands. Above it, in shaky letters, read, "My new family." In the weeks that followed, life didn't go back to normal, it became something better. Lily walked through the house without flinching. She laughed louder. She teased Ethan like siblings do and helped him take 2 more steps on his own. Michael, once obsessed with perfection, began leaving early to cook breakfast and staying late to read bedtime stories. His cold mansion had become a home. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Michael found Lily on the porch, writing in her notebook. "Working on your next story?" he asked. She nodded. "What's it about?" She glanced up. A girl who had nothing but gave someone everything. He sat beside her. "Will it have a happy ending?" She smiled. "It already does. Thank you for watching this emotional journey with us. Now we'd love to hear from you. If you were in the judge's shoes, what would you have decided? Do you think family is made by blood or by choice and love? And tell us, where in the world are you watching from today? If this story touched your heart, please tap that heart and share it with someone who still believes in second chances. And finally, what did you think of this story? Comment no 3. If you loved it, no 2. If it was okay, or no 1, if it didn't hit the mark for you. We're reading every response.